Hi, Kaya Tribe. I want to talk today about habits. An analogy I heard that was like a big aha moment and brought a lot of clarity to me in reframing how I think about my bad habits. And so I wanted to share it with you. So what I was listening to is the analogy of like a rat in a cage, and when they are trained to push a button and get a reward, push a button and get a reward. And same thing with us is like we have this trigger that we say, okay, whatever it is, whatever bad habit we're trying to think about. If you think about like maybe you're trying to detox from sugar, because that's something I think a lot of us can relate with. But it could be anything. It could be alcohol. It could be maybe eating late. It could be whatever bad habit you're trying to get rid of. If you think about that being like the pushing of the button of the rat in the cage and the reward that comes. And so what we normally do to think about changing our habits or getting rid of a bad habit is we think about getting a strong enough will to stop pushing that button. And so we get maybe self-discipline and get better at self-discipline, which we can do. We practice getting ourselves to be strong enough to stop pushing that button, and using all of our will to not push the button. And then we get out of the habit of pushing the button. And so that's one way to think about getting rid of a habit. But then we always have that trigger of if the button is there, we always are wanting to push it, right? So we might get out of the habit of doing it, but if we're presented with that button again, that we are prone to each time wanting to push it or pushing that button again or getting back into that habit. So rather than having these habits reappear in our life over and over and having to do these same detox habits or try to detox these same habits over and over, if instead through mindfulness we think about what we're trying to get from the pushing of the button, and then we mindfully decide and look at and experience whether we actually get that thing from pushing the button. So instead of getting ourselves not to push the button, we realize that pushing the button isn't getting us what we thought it was getting us. And that is where this mindfulness meditation comes in, is when we practice seeing our thoughts come up. We practice being the watcher of our thoughts. So all meditation really is practicing being separate from that constant stream of chatter that's going on in our head and realizing that that's not us. And so through mindfulness practice, we start to realize that pushing that button isn't getting us what we wanted from the button. So maybe it's a release of anxiety, maybe it's to de-stress, maybe it's just out of boredom, maybe it's whatever it is we're trying to get rid of. We realize that pushing the button helps with that maybe for a few moments, but then it actually makes what we push the button for, it makes it worse, right? So rather than de-stressing, it causes more stress. Rather than relieving anxiety, it gives us more anxiety. All these things that we're trying to escape from by pushing that button, it is actually escalating. So we realize we're pushing the wrong button. So instead of getting a stronger willpower or having more self-discipline, we realize and we mindfully decide that that button isn't the button we want to push. So if it's like, say, processed sugar, and we are going through that motion out of maybe a desire at the end of the evening, because we don't wake up eating cupcakes, right? So it's something about the end of our day that we're searching for some sort of release. And maybe it's just like a few moments of pleasure. But then we realize as soon as those moments are over, the pleasure we were seeking is actually further away, because now we feel bad for not sticking with what we wanted to stick with to make the long-term changes in our life. So we're not getting that button pushing reward after all. And so just starting to be mindful, one, do that mindful meditation. So sitting and creating the watcher within yourself of your thoughts, but then also notice every time you push the button, just take the time to notice, take the space to notice, realize that this is actually getting me further away from what I'm pushing the button for. And then you no longer have to use willpower to stop pushing that button. I hope this was helpful. Please let me know what other videos that you have that you'd like me to do, or if you have any topics that you'd like me to cover. I'll talk to you guys next time.